would probably agree with you that that state of affairs is inappropriate. But was the manner that you handled this appropriate, your comments appropriate for colleagues of yours in the Senate, duly elected officials from a different part of the state, appropriate? And you are neither going to apologize, nor are you sorry, it seems like to me.
Liz, you're back to talking about what I did. The reality is this. The reality is we wouldn't even be having the conversation about the racism that happens in the Senate or this state if it wasn't for the fact that I confronted it in an aggressive manner. The reality,
very aggressive manner, actually.
But that's the only thing that people apparently around here understand, because the week prior to that, when he made some unfounded comments and some objections to some women of minority, what we call MWBE, Women of Minority Business Enterprise legislation, I confronted it quietly then, and I've confronted it on the floor of the Senate when he's done it. The reality is that they have no intention on doing it. This is a group of people in the Senate, Republicans, who for 43 years ran the chamber, never had a woman as a counsel, never had a woman as a sergeant at arms, never had an African American in any prominent area.
Let me just
and so I'm saying that there is a history of their behavior. So when I say that they're a white supremacist, I'm not saying this because it's my opinion. I'm saying look at the behavior.
But you have a history too, actually. You have a history of sounding off. You have a history of making some pretty controversial comments. You called the governor of New York a coke-snorting, staff-banning governor. You subsequently apologized for that. You do have a history of assault charges that have been lodged against you that right now you're pending in court. Do you have an anger management problem?
No, I don't. I'm passionate. I'm a champion for issues in my community. On my way here today, I had to stop because a young man was killed literally right in front of my district office, and I'm really wanted to say I'm sorry to him and his family, and it's a significant loss. But this is the kind of thing that happens in our community. And when you talk about the fact that the unemployment rate in my community is almost double what the national average is, and particularly for African Americans, it's almost triple in Brooklyn what it is for the national average relates to white males. You can't say that that is incidental. The disparities that you find in health around things like HIV, cancer, prostate cancer are all significant when you look at labor market discrimination. So you start talking about white supremacy in the current context is no longer white sheets and hoods. We are now talking about corporations, we're talking about hospitals, and we're talking about the way that criminal justice policies are enacted here in the state of New York. And I'm saying that all of those things need to be addressed.
Do you believe that the tone, the acrimonious tone to which you have contributed and others of your colleagues have contributed on both sides of the aisle is contributing itself to the fact that there's no budget in the state and that nobody can manage to get legislation of any significance passed with a three-way agreement at this moment?
No, right now we're in some really tough times as it relates to the budget. In the Senate, Democrats, obviously we're insisting on some really important things for the constituents around the state. We're really working hard to make sure there's some property tax relief. We're trying to make sure that education is fully funded. And there's really some differences over some of the values that we have and what needs to be funded and what's not to be funded that's causing the delay. I mean, if you go back, when we did the DRP, the deficit reduction package a few months ago, the governor was insisting on cuts to education. We're hearing that he's still insisting on some of those long-term cuts. That is something that I have been, again, a champion for, around, campaign for fiscal equity and to make sure that the funding formula, as well as, making sure that money goes into the right place with the, I can't think of it. We have a clause in the budget where we, in fact, are insisting that money goes into Title I schools.
Let me just ask you, in closing, you did not apologize to John DeFrancisco.
I don't think I owe him an apology. In fact, he owes Marco Luck, the nominee to the Power Authority, a apology for his disgraceful behavior during that nomination.
And you've not been disciplined by John Sampson, the Democratic Congress
I don't think that. Why would he discipline me for speaking my mind? A senator, John Sampson is the leader of the conference. I have a great deal of respect for my friend and leader. But the reality is that him nor Skelos or my mother or my father, I mean, they're not to discipline me. The reality is this. I'm a duly elected senator just like they are. If they have a problem, then we should have a conversation about it. But the reality is that they're not going to perform in committee meetings or on the floor in a way that is racist without someone saying to them, this is unacceptable. And what I did yesterday was say that this is unacceptable.
So we could be in for more fireworks, which is very interesting. Senator Kevin Parker, we will be watching,
Good.
and so will the rest of the state, actually. So thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks
I
for having me,
appreciate
Liz.
your time.
Appreciate it.
Take care.